There's a moment, barely a breath, when two people meet and something happens. A glance lingers just a little too long. A word lands a little too deeply. And without planning it, without even understanding it, there's a pull. You don't know if it's chemistry, destiny, or something in between, but you feel it. That is emotional attraction, and it is instant. Emotional attraction is born in the space between people, not within one person alone. It lives in the invisible tension that forms when two people bring their full presence into a shared moment. It cannot be forced, scripted, or rehearsed, because it doesn't belong to one person's charm, looks, or intelligence. It exists in the exchange, the unspoken dialogue that takes place through energy, curiosity, and emotional attunement. Every time two people meet, they create a third entity between them, the relationship. That space, though intangible, carries tone, emotion, rhythm, and meaning. It is where attraction grows, not inside one person's desire to be liked or validated. When one person focuses too much on themselves, how they look, what to say, how to impress, they step out of that shared space. They become self-conscious, trying to control the impression rather than participating in the connection. But emotional attraction requires two people willing to co-create an experience. It thrives in mutual awareness, where both are listening not just to the words, but to the subtle cues, the pauses, the shifts in energy, the emotions underneath. The secret is presence, because presence invites reciprocity. When someone feels your genuine interest, they naturally open in return. When you hold space without judgment, you make room for truth, and truth is magnetic. In this sense, attraction is less about doing and more about being. It is about tuning into the emotional frequency of another person and allowing your own to respond. The moment you stop trying to impress and start noticing their tone, their gestures, their comfort or discomfort, you move from self to connection. You start communicating not just through words but through emotional resonance. That's when the space between becomes charged with something unexplainable yet undeniable. Two people can sit side by side and feel nothing, or they can meet for a few seconds and feel everything. The difference lies in the quality of that shared space. It is shaped by attention, empathy, curiosity, and respect. It's the space where vulnerability feels safe enough to breathe and where authenticity feels welcome. When both people contribute to it consciously, attraction stops being an accident, it becomes a living dialogue, a dance of openness and presence. And it's in that dance, in that subtle yet powerful exchange, where true emotional attraction begins to take root, quietly transforming a simple encounter into something unforgettable. True connection isn't about words, it's about how someone makes you feel seen, heard, and safe. Words can decorate a moment, but emotion gives it life. You can say all the right things and still leave someone untouched if they don't feel that your presence matches your speech. Emotional attraction begins when a person senses that you are not merely listening to reply but listening to understand. It's when your gaze holds theirs without rushing, when your body language mirrors openness instead of control, when your silence feels like acceptance rather than disinterest. In those small, almost imperceptible signals, another person feels something profound: safety. And safety is the birthplace of attraction because it allows vulnerability to step forward. When people feel seen, they don't need to explain themselves. They don't need to earn approval or compete for attention. They relax into being. That ease creates warmth, and warmth is magnetic. The irony is that many try to impress by showcasing intelligence, humor, or success, but what draws people closer isn't the performance, it's the permission to be authentic. We are not drawn to the person who talks the most, we are drawn to the one who makes us feel most understood. Emotional attraction emerges from that sense of recognition, the quiet voice inside that whispers, "You get me." This feeling doesn't come from grand gestures or eloquent speeches, it comes from emotional presence. You can create it through small acts of attention, the way you respond with empathy instead of judgment, the way you remember details that matter, the way you allow someone's emotions to exist without trying to fix them. Each of these moments builds an emotional bridge, showing the other person that they are safe to be real around you. That safety is powerful because it awakens trust, and trust deepens desire. When someone feels heard, they no longer guard themselves. Their walls lower, their tone softens, their laughter becomes freer. The energy between you shifts. That's when conversation turns into connection and connection turns into attraction. It is not something that can be forced because it must be felt on both sides. You cannot fake making someone feel seen. Your attention must be genuine, your curiosity sincere. The moment someone feels that your interest in them is real, something deep within them responds instinctively. They begin to feel drawn to your energy, not because you said the right words, but because you offered them the rare gift of being truly seen. Mystery and curiosity sustain attraction far longer than perfection ever could. The allure of emotional connection is not found in knowing everything about someone but in the desire to keep discovering who they are. Perfection gives us closure, but mystery keeps us open. When we think we fully understand another person, the spark begins to fade because the unknown disappears. But when there is something yet to explore, when a person's thoughts, emotions, and essence unfold slowly, it creates a sense of anticipation that keeps the connection alive. Attraction is not built on predictability, it thrives on intrigue. It's the subtle dance between familiarity and surprise, between comfort and wonder, that makes someone linger in our mind long after they've gone. In emotional attraction, mystery is not about secrecy or manipulation, it's about depth. It's about allowing parts of yourself to reveal gradually rather than all at once. When you hold your authenticity with grace instead of urgency, you create space for curiosity to grow. People are drawn to what feels layered, nuanced, and alive. Perfection is flat, it leaves no room for imagination. But mystery invites imagination to participate, and imagination is what sustains desire. It's not the flawless smile or the perfect line that captivates someone, it's the unpredictability of emotion, the texture of vulnerability, the glimpses of strength and softness that coexist in one person. Curiosity is the emotional engine of attraction. When you are genuinely curious about someone, not what they do, but who they are, you open a pathway for them to reveal more. Curiosity says, I see you, and I want to know more, and that kind of interest is magnetic. It makes people feel alive, as if they are still a mystery worth exploring. The key is to stay curious even after you know someone deeply, to keep asking, to keep wondering, to stay fascinated by the evolution of their inner world. Perfection, on the other hand, creates distance. When someone tries too hard to appear flawless, they become unapproachable, almost untouchable. There's no emotional friction, no contrast, no sense of discovery. We are not attracted to perfection because it leaves us with nothing to feel. What holds our attention is the unpredictability of emotion, the way someone can surprise us with honesty, humor, or tenderness when we least expect it. Mystery breathes life into connection, inviting both people to keep leaning closer, to keep searching, to keep feeling that subtle pull that says there's still more to uncover. Emotional resonance grows when vulnerability meets presence, not performance. It's in the moments when you drop your guard, when you stop trying to be impressive and start being honest, that real connection begins to form. Vulnerability isn't about oversharing or dramatizing your pain, it's about letting another person see the truth behind your composure. It's the courage to reveal emotion without fear of judgment. When someone senses that authenticity, they instinctively soften, because honesty invites honesty. But vulnerability on its own isn't enough, it needs presence to transform it into connection. Presence means being grounded in the moment, not distracted by self-consciousness or pretense. It's the stillness that allows another person's words, gestures, and emotions to fully land without interruption. When vulnerability and presence meet, emotional resonance happens. It's that deep, almost wordless recognition between two people that says, I feel you. It's not about the story you tell, but the emotion behind it. You can talk about joy, fear, or loss, and if you're truly present while sharing, your authenticity will touch something familiar in the other person. People are drawn to that resonance because it reminds them of their own humanity. It creates an invisible thread that connects two emotional worlds in a single heartbeat. Performance, however, blocks that thread. When we try to control how we're perceived, when we craft our image, exaggerate our emotions, or hide behind perfection, we lose the essence of connection. The other person feels the disconnect, even if they can't explain it. They sense that something doesn't align, that the energy doesn't feel real. Presence, on the other hand, communicates trust. It says, I am here, as I am, with you. And that simple offering has more power than any carefully constructed impression. Vulnerability without presence can feel chaotic, like emotional oversharing. Presence without vulnerability can feel cold, like politeness without intimacy. But when the two merge, something extraordinary happens. The space between people becomes charged with empathy. The conversation slows. The masks fall away. You begin to feel seen not for what you project, but for what you are. Emotional resonance builds in that quiet alignment. It doesn't need grand words or gestures. It only needs honesty held with awareness. That combination creates the kind of connection that lingers, the kind that feels safe yet electric, familiar yet alive, the kind that makes emotional attraction not just instant, but unforgettable. Attraction begins the moment two people risk being real with each other. It is born not in perfection or performance, but in honesty. The willingness to be real, to drop the mask, to speak from emotion instead of ego, creates a spark that cannot be replicated through strategy or charm. In that moment of truth, something alive emerges between two people, something raw and magnetic. Being real is not about revealing everything, it's about showing enough of your inner world that the other person can feel your sincerity. It's the courage to show what you feel, even when it's uncomfortable, because authenticity has a vibration that draws others closer without you having to try. Most people spend their energy managing impressions. They curate their words, control their expressions, and rehearse their responses in the hope of being liked or admired. But the more we perform, the less we connect. Performance may earn attention, but it rarely earns affection. Being real does the opposite, it disarms. When you speak with honesty, admit uncertainty, or allow silence instead of filling it, you invite another person to exhale, to lower their own guard. That mutual release creates a shared human moment, and attraction grows in that shared humanity. It's not the polished version of yourself that people fall for, it's the unguarded moments where your truth quietly slips through. There is a deep power in emotional transparency. When two people risk being real, they acknowledge that perfection is an illusion and that truth is far more beautiful. Authenticity makes people feel safe because it says, "I'm not performing for you, I'm here with you." That energy changes everything. It creates a field of trust where emotion can flow freely and naturally. You can't fake that kind of openness, it's something that must come from presence and intention. When you show your real self, your curiosity, your humor, your fears, your imperfections, you give the other person permission to do the same. That's when attraction becomes more than physical or intellectual, it becomes emotional and spiritual. Being real also means being attuned. It means noticing the other person, not just as a reflection of your own needs, but as someone with their own depth and story. It's the delicate balance of revealing and receiving, of sharing without dominating, of listening without analyzing. When both people enter that space, vulnerability becomes a bridge rather than a risk. It turns ordinary connection into something alive and unpredictable. The risk of being real is what creates the thrill of emotional intimacy, and in that risk lies the very heartbeat of attraction.